Hello, this is Hazel or Hazely Nut bringing to you another audio commentary actually of another Terran v Zerg in the matchup WeMade Fox versus SKT1. Hopefully all of you have already seen the first two games in this set. There was one Bisu versus Pure, and then we had S2 versus Mind. I hope all of you know the results, and if you don't, go back and watch them. But right now it's 1-1. I'll let you guess who won which one. Anyway, we have another Terran v Zerg. This time we have Now Kiki on the left versus Fantasy on the right from SKT1, a Terran player from SKT1. It looks like he got a new hairdo, actually. I don't recall his hair being so curly. Anyway, Fantasy is actually, I had very high hopes for him, and I think he still is doing quite well. He was the runner-up for the OSL. He did, spoiler alert, he did lose to Stork, although he fought back valiantly. After losing the first two games, he fought back in the last two games and then lost the last one. But anyway, Fantasy is really innovative. He beat, I think, GG Play? I'm not actually sure. Anyway, he uses this really strange build. I think it's called the Fantasy build now. And he's just so creative in his play. He uses like a dropship full of vultures, and somehow it's also like the perfect counter to 3 hatch mutas. I don't really know the details of it, but Fantasy is just an interesting player. I was kind of disappointed when I heard some of the theories behind that, being that I Love UV was secretly the mastermind behind Fantasy's new creative builds, which in that case, it's kind of disappointing. I was hoping for a new Boxer, and Fantasy does look like Boxer for some reason, and he's also a Terran player in SKT1. So yeah, I was just hoping that. But it's okay. Anyway, Fantasy is spawning orange at the 3 o'clock position, and sorry, now Kiki is spawning as blue Zerg at the 6 o'clock position. And we'll see what really happens. This is a 4-player map, Neo Requiem. I haven't actually gotten the chance to play on this. I believe there's a reverse ramp or something. It looks pretty balanced from the statistics that I have. It's 20-20 for 50% actually for Terran v Zerg, and even the player statistics themselves are pretty balanced. Now Kiki is 47% against Terran, and Fantasy is 50% against Zerg. So really we might have a pretty balanced game. I'm actually hoping for some Fantasy build. Yeah, I don't know about you. But I am hoping for some vultures, and it looks like Fantasy is looking for that wall off. So I'm really hoping that Fantasy is going to go for some sort of Fantasy build. Unfortunately, he is scouted out by that Overlord. You can tell who I'm biased towards, but he is scouted out by now Kiki's Overlord, and I'm not sure if he's going to continue with a possible gas refinery factory build, or if he's going to go standard. I think he should just go all the way with Valkyries. That's my opinion. But yeah, it looks like now Kiki is just going to try to expand here. He's having a little trouble because of that SCV. Nice SCV harass. Hopefully it won't die from these 2 drones, which it might. Oh, and that SCV does not stop that drone a 3rd time. So, now both players have scouted each other out. Fantasy is going for that refinery. We are going to see some crazy antics here. I'm looking forward to that. Unfortunately, that SCV, that scouting SCV just died. I think there might be another SCV coming in though. So I don't know what's gonna happen with this game. I don't know much about now Kiki. I know Fantasy surprises me every time he plays, so I'm quite happy with that. Now Kiki has come out with 6 Zerglings. Was that a 12 hatch then? That must have been something else. Well, no, it might have been a 12 hatch. Anyway, he's built quite a few Zerglings, possibly because he knows that Fantasy is going for that strange tech build and won't be really able to defend as well. But with a wall in and just 4 Marines, you can defend almost any number of Zerglings, especially if you have SCVs repairing behind that little wall. So that SCV, that scouting SCV, will probably go down. Those Zerglings are just gonna probably camp outside of his base until something else happens. But that's strange. What's his face? Fantasy has just gone for Academy. I'm not actually too familiar with these crazy gas mech Valkyrie builds, but usually an academy doesn't go up that early. Maybe he just wants the early SAT. Maybe he's actually upgrading. He's upgrading that he's upgrading his marine range, no, stim, something like that. Maybe he's actually going to switch over. Maybe even though he's gone for gas, an early gas, it's actually only for academy, and quick, I don't know, stim, and yeah, I'm not really too sure. And Fantasy walks up straight to that unsuspecting Overlord and almost snipes it off. Unfortunately, he doesn't snipe it all the way off. But Fantasy is going for a factory. So yeah, I'm not really sure what this is. Maybe this is a strange one barracks medic firebat into vulture harass. Yeah, I don't really know. But he has scared, Fantasy has scared Nalkiki into building those 3 creep colonies. So that was very well done. Those Zerglings will be chased off now. 2 firebats and all those marines and that medic will be able to chase off those Zerglings and put some pressure. Put some pressure on Nalkiki. Speed upgrade is up for Nalkiki, so he might be able to just run away. After that SAT, I'm sure Fantasy won't just walk in to that base. He was just probably trying to see if he could do something like a sunken break, but he's not going to be able to. In the meantime, interestingly, because he SATted that expansion, he won't know what tech route Nalkiki is going. Fantasy will not know that there is a spire building in the main base, and he might be unprepared. If he goes for that starport, I'm not sure what he's going for. Maybe he'll go for Valkyries, maybe he'll go for Race, maybe he'll go for a dropship. Who knows? But Fantasy still is being safe. He's building that engineering base so that he can, well, get upgrades and also build a turret, just in case. That's interesting. Maybe Fantasy will be able to snipe. No, he is not able to snipe that extractor. That would be really great if he could. In the meantime, now Kiki is running past with all those Zerglings. Oh my gosh, he's going to get surrounded by all those Zerglings. Fantasy has nothing to prepare to do against this. The game might be over. Wow, Fantasy, overconfident, sends his entire troop out to Naoki's base, and in the meantime, Zerglings are having a field day in his own base. All of those SCVs are going down. Naoki doesn't even need to go mutas at this rate. Wow. And really, those Zerglings are going to just delay the building of that building. I'm not sure what it was. They're just going to be annoying just for a little bit while longer. That was a very, very valuable sacrifice of what, 10 Zerglings. And meanwhile, the mutas are out and there are no turrets, but Fantasy is putting them up. The problem is he has no SCVs. Well, he does have SCVs, but he doesn't have the saturation of SCVs that he's supposed to. His doorway is also completely open. If Naoki just builds a few Zerglings as well and comes in with a joint attack, Fantasy can't do anything against it. And it doesn't look like turrets are up in the front. He will be able to get... Oh, the turret just goes up. The science facility is also there. I guess Fantasy was going for that early science vessel to be able to, I don't know, combat against Mutalisks, but unfortunately he let a bunch of Zerglings in instead. So now Fantasy is in a lot of trouble, just amazing trouble. Fantasy is repairing that turret quite well. The problem is Fantasy has no units right now. He has like a marine and a medic. He has a medic, and SCVs and firebats against a Mutalisk. Fantasy is in so much trouble. I think it's practically GG. There's very little he can do. There's nothing he can do. I'm just gonna say it out loud. There's nothing that Fantasy can do at this point, barring becoming Boxer and I don't know, building a miraculous Valkyrie out of nowhere. So really, this game is over. There's a firebat in that bunker. There's a marine in that bunker. It's not really going to do anything. There are mutas all over the place. There are no turrets up. There's one science vessel that could go down any second, but it doesn't for some reason. Naokiki could have taken that science vessel down, I think. But yeah, Fantasy, I think, was just too overconfident. I don't know why he goes for this build so often. I know that I always love seeing this when it's successful because it's always so interesting to watch. But now there are Zerglings and Mutalisks all up in his base, and there we have it. GG from Fantasy. You know what? I forgot. I was supposed to say chogoling, and I forgot. But hopefully we'll see that in another game. Fantasy just didn't do so well in that game. He walked out, he just let a Zergling run by happen to him. He had no Firebat waiting on his ramp, no Firebat with medic. Usually that's what pro gamers do, but this time around it just didn't happen. So Fantasy was kind of careless, I think, but Naokikyo also played well. He played well. He was able to just run past with all those Zerglings, kind of trick Fantasy into thinking that he wasn't going to produce any more Zerglings, and now he is. And Fantasy is looking a little bit depressed there. But, alright, GG. I'll be bringing to you the next game, Roro versus Best. Thanks for listening.